Sooner or later, it's just going to say this hangout on there is live. I'm live. Maybe I should talk louder, but I'm in London at the Software Craftsmanship conference that I never knew about. I didn't find out about it until last Saturday. I was chopping it up with Michael Feathers, and he told me that he was giving a talk in London. I'm like, oh, okay, what is it? And he said it's software craftsmanship, and my ears perked up. I'm like, software craftsmanship? And he was like, yeah, you should check it out. And so I recently just wrapped up with a contract, so I got some time off. But I was kind of planning to go to like Jamaica or Cancun, but I decided to come out here, and it's been cool. There's been, I don't know, this is the second day. It's a 2-day conference, and essentially there's only been like 2, maybe 3 talks that I decided to pass on and just hang out in the lobby. It kind of reminds me of skipping class, hang out in the lunchroom. But something that stuck with me was a talk by somebody, I don't remember his name, that was giving a talk on metaphors. And what I appreciated about his talk is the things that we have today is based on the metaphors that used to be used a long time ago, such as kick the bucket, soaring on top, falling, etc. That by definition doesn't really make sense, but has now become a figure of speech and is part of our everyday vocabulary. And so there is a chart that he showed in which he showed a layered architecture, I don't know, drawing, in which, of course, you have your UI, your business logic, and your database layer, right? On the left side, he had them all proportional, if I could say that, all even, all the same width, all the same thickness. Um, and on the right hand side, he had, the UI was half the width of the domain logic, and the database was 3/4 the width of the domain logic. And he asked the crowd, which one actually is correct. And almost all the audience looked at the one on the left side where everything was equal. The dimensions of the UI layer was equal to the dimensions of the business logic, which was equal to the dimensions of the database. I was the only one that raised my hand for thinking that the right one was correct, because they're not proportional. The database is a detail, the UI is a detail, the business logic should be the biggest layer, because that's the core. So it was interesting people's perceptions of what looked correct, and it looked correct to them because that's probably the chart that they've always seen. And that's when the light bulb went off, where this is why I see code that's usually dictated by databases, meaning the property names reflect the field names, or should I say column names, of database tables. These applications can't run without being connected to a database. If you disconnect the database and you attempt to put in some, or swap in some replacement, such as an in-memory database versus an external, hence SQL Server database, like, you can't do it. They're not designed by that. And so, I don't know, I guess it was a realization that metaphors are very powerful, and metaphors get carried on from generation to generation. And it's because metaphors, I would like to say, serve as an abstraction that we kind of we kind of take them for granted, and we really don't perhaps interrogate if a metaphor is really useful for the specific context that we're building for. And so that was the most interesting talk I've ever heard, because it's something I never ever considered. So yeah, metaphors, things that we probably don't spend enough time asking about, but we already have a mental pattern and we leverage that to build these models of systems. And that was really interesting. That was worth $100 to listen in on for 45 minutes. It really was. In addition to that, I finally met Sandro, don't know his last name, but he's a thought leader out here in London. I think he's the head organizer of this conference. He's also an author of the Software Craftsmanship book, something like that. I haven't read it, just like I haven't read Clean Code. But that's pretty much it. I'm out here early in the morning at this conference. I haven't written any code in like 3 days. London is stressful when it comes to me trying to get around the city without getting ripped off. Even though I think it's a nice city, but whenever I'm in a foreign city, I'm always very hesitant and always like think twice about where my money is going, and I'm just very meticulous. Anyway, that's it. So it's pretty much empty because I'm early. So I walked for about 45 minutes from Airbnb to get down here. It's the first time I walked without having headphones on for that long and just absorbed the streets. But that's it. I haven't really done anything with Keza in the past 3 days, but I'll probably start on it when I get back home. I'm just disconnecting right now, somewhat. All right, that's it. Peace, adios, te veo a ratito. I'm out.